All right, listeners. So today we are diving into the world of Netflix. We've got their Q2 2024 shareholder letter, and wow, it is packed with fascinating insights.
It really is. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill financial report. This is Netflix laying out their vision for the future.
Okay, so you brought this letter to us, which means you're trying to decode what's going on behind the scenes, right? What's the headline here? What's the main message?
Confidence. This letter just screams confidence, strong Q2 growth, a positive outlook for the rest of the year, and a very clear roadmap for future expansion. What I find interesting is that balancing act. They're projecting confidence to investors, but also acknowledging that the media landscape is changing rapidly.
It's like they're walking a tightrope,
Right.
right? On the one hand, you've got to reassure those investors that Netflix is still a solid bet, but they're also signaling that they're not afraid to shake things up to stay on top.
Exactly. And that balancing act is everywhere in this letter, from their revenue numbers to their content strategy.
Well, let's get into the numbers then. The letter mentions 17% revenue growth. That's Is that good? Should we be impressed by that?
In the world of streaming, that is very impressive, especially with the competition heating up.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They're not just boasting about overall growth. They're highlighting specific areas, like their ad-supported plan and their growth in international markets. That tells us they're thinking long-term, diversifying their revenue streams.
Makes sense. They actually call out India and Argentina specifically in the letter. What's happening in those markets?
India is huge for Netflix right now. It's their second largest market for paid subscribers, and their revenue from India skyrocketing. This ties into their global content strategy, which we'll get to. But they're clearly tapping into a massive and enthusiastic audience there.
And Argentina, what's the story there?
Argentina's interesting. They're seeing big swings in revenue because of currency exchange rates. And they address that directly in the letter. They could have easily glossed over it. But they choose to be upfront even when the numbers are messy. I think that builds trust with investors.
Transparency is key, especially in such a volatile market. Speaking of volatile shark movies, the letter mentions a bunch of hits from Bridgerton to, wait, there's a shark movie.
Right, and that's the point. They're showcasing their range, which is huge when you're trying to appeal to as many people as possible. Bridgerton is their reliable crowd pleaser. But then you've got these international successes like the Indian drama Hiramandi. That tells me they're not just making shows for these markets. They're making shows that resonate globally.
So it's not just about translating Bridgerton into different languages. It's about creating content that feels authentic to viewers from all over, no matter where they live.
Exactly. It's about tapping into those universal stories and emotions. And it's working. They also highlighted successes in the UK with shows like Baby Reindeer and Fool Me Once. This shift from being a mainly American company to a truly global one is fascinating.
It's like they're weaving this global tapestry of content, and it's
Yeah.
attracting a wider audience than ever before. But hold on, they're getting into games now, too. That seems like a bit of a gamble.
It might seem that way, but it's actually very strategic. They're testing the waters, seeing what works. But they're not just throwing things out there randomly. Notice how they talk about games based on existing shows, like Squid Game. They're leveraging what they already know works, using their most successful shows to keep people engaged.
So it's like they're creating this whole Netflix universe. You watch the show, you play the game.
Yeah.
It all keeps you coming back for more.
Exactly. It's all about building brand loyalty, keeping people plugged into the Netflix ecosystem, no matter what they're watching or playing. And they even touched on the success of their live event, The Roast of Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah. That was big.
It was. And it tells us they're willing to experiment. Live events, gaming, international content, they're diversifying. Just like with their revenue streams. Not putting all their eggs in one basket.
That's always a good strategy, especially in such a competitive landscape. But speaking of things that are constantly changing, the letter mentions a new homepage design. Is that really a big deal? It seems like a small detail in the grand scheme of things.
It might seem small,
Yeah.
but trust me, it's huge. Netflix is all about discoverability, helping you, the viewer, find something you'll enjoy quickly. Because if you don't find it, you're going to a competitor. They're constantly tweaking the algorithms, the layout, all in the name of keeping you glued to the screen.
It's like they're designing the digital equivalent of a comfy couch and a bag of chips, making it so easy to just sink in and stay a while.
Exactly. They even called out their My Netflix tab, which is coming to TV soon. You know how you used to scroll endlessly through those rows of because you watched?
Oh, don't remind me. I think I've seen every true crime documentary ever made at this point.
Right. Well, this suggests they're trying to fix that. They're laser focused on user experience. They know that a frustrating interface will send you running to the competition.
And speaking of competition, there's a part in here where they talk about competing with YouTube. Now that feels like a completely different beast altogether, doesn't it?
It does. This signals a major shift. It's not just about other streaming services anymore. They're going after all your leisure time,
Mm.
which is fascinating.
Mm.
They even highlighted how Netflix and YouTube together account for almost half of all streaming TV watch time in the US.
Wow, that is huge. Makes you wonder what's next. If they're going after YouTube's territory, are we going to see more user-generated content on Netflix, more short-form videos?
It's definitely a possibility, and it's smart of them to recognize that shift. They're not resting on their laurels. They're paying attention.
Okay, so they want more eyeballs, more engagement. But how does that translate to dollars and cents?
That's where the advertising strategy comes in.
Ah, yes, the ads. Let's talk about that. They seem pretty confident about their ad-supported plan.
They do, don't they? It's still early,
Mm.
but the numbers are promising. Over 45% of new signups in some markets are going with the cheaper ad-supported version. But here's where it gets really interesting. They're building their own ad tech platform, which is a huge investment. They're playing the long game here.
So they're not just slapping on any old ads. They're trying to do this right, build a system that actually works.
Absolutely. They even mentioned some new ad formats in this letter, like pause, ads that pop up when you hit pause. And they're partnering with measurement companies,
Mhm.
like Barb. It's all very data-driven. They're thinking about ad relevance user experience.
Which makes sense, because who wants a bunch of random annoying ads interrupting their favorite shows? It's like they're learning from the mistakes of old school television, trying to build something better.
Exactly. They get it. Bombarding people with irrelevant ads. Recipe for disaster. They want to make the experience more personalized, more engaging. Again, it's that balancing act, keeping the users happy while still generating that revenue.
And it sounds like they're really banking on this ad business for the future.
They are. It's not their main source of income right now, but they're laying the groundwork for something big. Think about it. Global audience.
Yeah.
Tons of data on what people watch.
Mm.
And they're building their own ad technology. That's a powerful combination.
Building an empire, one digital brick at a time.
But let's shift gears a bit here. Something else that stood out to me in this letter, the sheer variety of content they're investing in. Shark movies, international dramas, reality shows, documentaries. It's like they're trying to be everything to everyone. It's ambitious. But it speaks to their overall goal. They're not just after subscribers. They want to capture the world's attention. And in a world with endless entertainment choices, you have to diversify.
It's like they're creating this ultimate entertainment buffet, something for everyone, no matter what your taste is.
And that is key. Attracting and keeping a global audience means you can't just rely on Hollywood. You need something for everyone. Bollywood romances, Korean thrillers, British baking shows, they're tapping into those niche interests, expanding their reach exponentially.
It's smart, and you've got to consider the cultural impact too, showcasing all these different voices from around the world. It's not just entertainment, it's cultural exchange happening right there on your screen.
Exactly. And that's something traditional media could never really do on this scale. Streaming platforms like Netflix, they're breaking down those barriers, creating a more interconnected world through entertainment.
Bringing the world closer together, one episode at a time.
It's powerful stuff.
It really is. But with so much content, it can be overwhelming for the viewer, right? It's like, here's everything. Good luck finding something to watch.
And that's where their focus on user experience comes in. Remember that new homepage design we talked about? Just one way. They're trying to make it easier to navigate this massive library of content.
Trying to read our minds,
Yeah.
figure out what we want before we even do.
Well, they're pouring money into AI and machine learning to personalize those recommendations. What you watch, how long you watch it, what you rate. It's all about getting you to the content you'll actually enjoy.
Impressive and a little creepy. But hey, if it means less scrolling and more watching, I'm not complaining.
Exactly. And that brings us back to YouTube. If they can nail that algorithm, make finding something to watch on Netflix completely frictionless, they have a real shot at capturing even more of our time.
It's the battle for our attention spans, and Netflix is going all in.
They are cutting-edge tech, diverse content, seamless user experience. They want to be the destination for entertainment.
It's a bold vision, but if anyone can pull it off, Netflix can. It's like we're watching an empire being built right in front of our eyes.
And it will be fascinating to see what happens next. Will they take over the gaming world, become the advertising kings? Who knows?
One thing's for sure, they're not afraid to experiment, to take risks. They're always pushing those boundaries. What's even possible in the world of entertainment these days?
Absolutely. And that's why they're so interesting. They're not content to just sit there and, ride this wave. They're always innovating, trying new things.
So we've covered a lot, from shark attacks to global domination. But If you had to pick the three most important takeaways from this letter, what would they be?
Okay, first, Netflix is doing well, but they're not complacent. They know the competition is fierce, the industry is changing, and they're adapting.
We're not just watching the world go by, that's for sure.
Right. Second, they're going all in on content variety global appeal. They want everyone in the world watching.
The biggest entertainment party on the planet.
Exactly. And third, keep an eye on that ad business. It's not the main event right now, but it has huge potential.
The slow burn could be their biggest moneymaker down the line.
You got it. If they can figure out that personalized advertising puzzle. Look out.
Yeah. Well said. And listener, we'll leave you with this. Netflix wants more of your time. But how much are you willing to give? 5 years from now, what's your Netflix diet look like? Is it your one-stop shop for everything? Or are you being more picky with what you watch? Something to think about. Until next time, happy streaming.